Hey everyone, welcome to Checkpoint Achieved, a new podcast we're starting up here. I've got with me today Gage Paul.
Hello.
And Dan Scheinzinger.
Hey there.
I'm Bryden Kex, and let's get this started. So, our podcast is going to essentially be about video games. We're just going to talk about video games that are, stuff that we're playing right now in our own living rooms, talk about games that are coming in the future, and also about the news that's going on in the industry as well. But to start off the episode, we're just going to usually start off asking what you guys have been getting up to and, go from there, start talking about some news and whatnot. But we'll let the show run from here. But I'll ask you guys, how's it going, This is the first podcast that we're doing. Excited to do it.
Pretty good. Yeah.
I'm doing all right.
All right. What do you guys been getting up to this week regarding games and whatnot?
I've been watching that show, Sons of Anarchy.
Okay.
So I went back and played the GTA DLC where you're in the biker gang.
Yeah.
And I didn't get anything done in it.
No, you're just riding around like a badass.
Riding around on motorcycles.
Fair enough. I've never played that, but it was one of those things like I was really into GTA. When GTA 4 came out, the game looks amazing, obviously. At the time when it came out, you're like, holy shit, this game looks awesome. But when you're playing it too, it's just one of those things that you're going around. You're not really actually playing the game. I don't think I ever finished GTA 4 either.
I've never finished a GTA game.
It's just like you start playing the game, and then you're like, I'm just gonna try and get a 5-star rating, fly around in my cheat code helicopter, and like kill civilians. That's kind of what you do.
Drive on the sidewalks a lot.
Pretty much. All right. What have you been getting up to, Dan?
I've been playing Happy Wars, a free arcade game, and Minecraft.
Okay. What's Happy Wars? I know what Minecraft is. Minecraft's a pretty popular game out there.
Yeah, no one should know what Happy Wars is. It's just a little arcade game that's like you just battle against people.
It's not Happy Wheels. Happy Wheels is the one that you're like driving.
That's
you're
the Flash game.
Yeah, that's the Flash game. But Happy Wars is just like
you just get into teams and try and take over each other's castles. There's towers that you take over that you can spawn at, and then everyone knows Minecraft.
Yeah, no Minecraft. Obviously, I don't play Minecraft that much. I've tried to play survivor mode sometimes. I enjoy it. Don't get me wrong. It's kind of cool. Like I get where it's coming from, but I've got a younger brother that is obsessed with that game, so I see it on a daily basis. I know what's going on. What do you like from that? Like, are you like into the survivor stuff? Or are you more into like the multiplayer? Like, because there's so many servers out there too, right?
Well, the thing is, I have it on Xbox. So
okay, yeah, fair enough. So is there multiplayer on the Xbox One or?
There are, but it's pretty much just you play with friends. Like
okay,
a couple people. I think you can fit like 8.
Okay. Fair enough. So it's more just kind of like you're playing the game, like the single player aspect of it, just kind of.
Yeah, for the most part, I just try and find diamonds.
Fair enough. Yeah, no. For me, I've been playing eclectically this week because I've got right now I have an issue. It's not really a bad issue, but like I started last year. I was playing games quite a bit. I was trying to play 50 games in a year. That was my goal. I got to it. I was writing about it too. That went terrible. Didn't finish that. But the problem with it was that I started enjoying buying games more than I was actually enjoying playing games. And I became like this hunter of games when I was out. Like I'd see something that I never played and it was like $9.99 or something. I'm like, shit, I gotta buy that. So I constantly build up this like little, stack of games, and I got through most of them. But then new games come out and stuff, and you just start forgetting about some. And I think I have like a shame pile right now, where it's like games I'm probably never going to play in my life. Like maybe I'll get around to them, and I hope that I do. But like Final Fantasy 13 is on that list, where I'm like, I don't have time to play a game that's like kind of people didn't think was that great. It was like 40 hours long or something like that.
Yeah.
So
I have one of those piles too. Pretty much all that's in it is Darksiders 2, though.
Yeah, I want to play Darksiders as well, but it's one of those games I didn't buy that one. I was good enough not to do that. So I've kind of cut down my pile a bit, and I've gotten to the point now where there's these games that I'm like, these are games that I know I'll enjoy playing. I just need to push myself a little bit to play them. So I've been getting to those ones, trying to beat those ones, and one that I was doing is I played the Resistance franchise co-op. Which was kind of interesting because the game, it looks good in co-op, but you're splitting the screen in half, so it's kind of weird in a way because it's like going retro a little bit. That you're not like getting the full experience of the game, and it's like you're squinting at the screen almost to do it. Because when you play co-op online, that's fine, like Borderlands or whatever, right? But this is a bit of a weird experience because the Resistance one I played that with my brother, and that was like maybe 6 or 7 months ago we played that. The game looks bad now because it was like a launch title for the PS3. And specifically that game is just like a first-person shooter. You're fighting this race called the Chimera, and it's a fun game. Like it's kind of like a alternate history, or and the cool part is I enjoyed playing the first game. Second game didn't have co-op, so I just straight up skipped that game. But I played Resistance 3, which came out a couple of years ago now, and that was a lot of fun. But it was really weird because it was just like, for whatever reason, when we played co-op, there was a lot more enemies and whatnot. It was just like extremely frustrating to play that, because like if one of your partners died, then you'd have to restart. Like there was like a time limit, you could go revive them, but it was almost like I played. What happened was, I was enjoying the game, I was having fun, but my brother got really frustrated by the end of it, so he just watched me finish the game. It was really weird because I went from like this small split screen to this like full screen on the TV, and it was like so much better looking, and I was like, this game's actually a really nice looking game, but I didn't know that because I was like looking at like half a screen and it looked like crap. So I finished that one though, and it was good, but it also was just so much easier playing by myself, like just dealing like, oh, I'm getting low on health, I'm gonna go hide, like you're not like worried about someone else at the same time too. So I finished that game. That was good. I finished Antichamber, which I'll talk about a bit after news, and then also one of my like, I don't know if you want to call it deep dark secrets or like just confessions, is I never played BioShock. So I'm trying to play BioShock right now before BioShock Infinite comes out.
Yeah, I'm actually at the same point. I've gone in like a third of the way into BioShock 1 because I got it from my computer.
Okay.
But,
when was the last time you played BioShock?
That was about a year ago, though.
Okay, so maybe we can talk a little bit about like the halfway point of the game. You finished BioShock, right, Jay?
I have finished BioShock like 10 times.
So we are in shame of him right now because we could just like take some of his times that he played the game and then give it to ourselves. But we'll talk a little bit about that afterwards. But let's jump into news. This isn't necessarily all the news that is going on in the industry, but just some stuff that I picked up off the internet. And usually it's just going to be from the past week. This week we've got a little bit more than that, just because of the fact that there's a lot of news going on right now. And I think some of these things are things that we need to talk about. So we'll start off with the obvious thing that's been covered massively on the internet, and that's the fact that Sony is holding a press conference on February 20th to announce the future of PlayStation. They have not said what that future might be. And people are really worried it's going to be like the Vita 2 or something like that, and everybody's going to cry because it's not what they were hoping for. But I think it's pretty much safe to say that it's probably going to be the PS4. You do not put that much into like hyping something up and then not actually going through with it. So
if it was not the PlayStation 4, they have screwed up royally.
I think that I would like maybe cry a little bit, and at the same time to question myself as a PS3 player right now and as a Sony fan. So but let's talk a little bit about that. What do you guys think is going to be coming out of that conference? Do you know, like, it's one of those things that it really could be anything. I think it's going to be the PS4, but what do you think we're going to see specifically? Do you guys think that we're going to actually see the system? Are we going to see games? How much are they going to go into detail about this? Or are we just going to pretty much get like a quick conference where like, yep, PS4 is coming, and stay tuned for E3 or something. I mean, they're flying all these people out to New York as well to go see. Well, not flying them out, but all these people are going to this news conference. They're going to see this. What do you guys think that they're going to see when they go to that conference?
Well, it's definitely going to be something big. It's probably PlayStation 4. It's probably going to be more exact specs, able to see the system. Maybe not so many games. They might have something to show off the video aspect of the game and how high quality the graphics are.
Yeah. Just kind of like maybe even like just a highlight reel of like some stuff that they're gonna have coming in the future, just like to get people hyped up even, because they don't necessarily have to show like actual gameplay. Well, it'd be good to show gameplay, but I think like they don't have to show like continuous 5-minute gameplay of a game. I think that they could even get away with like, here's 10 seconds of God of War, Untitled. Here's 10 seconds of MotorStorm Untitled. Put it all together, and then kind of make it look really snazzy. Have the dubstep in the background or something like that going on, and then I don't know. Like I personally, I really enjoy if they came from it like here's the system. Don't give away don't give the price away, don't give the time away, because I think that's really important for them regarding competition with Microsoft, right? Because we don't know anything about Microsoft's new console either, and I think it would be stupid for Sony to go into this conference and
reveal everything,
like lay all their cards up, be like, yeah, it's going to be this much, and it's going to come on this date, and yeah, hope you guys enjoy. Because the thing is with that is that if Microsoft see that happen, then they could be like, yeah, we come out 2 weeks earlier. They might not be able to make as many consoles, but they could like push themselves ahead. And it's all going to be about, losing money at the front door for these consoles to get them in players' hands, right? Because you look at last generation of consoles, and, Microsoft did it right. They came out with a console. Sure, there was issues with the console when it came out at launch. Like, there was, a lot more red rings going on in the beginning than there are now. But they got it out so that it was in mass. Like, you could go buy a 360, but it was also at the right price, too. Like, it wasn't super expensive. And, like, Sony screwed that up massively. Because they had this console come out, like, after the fact. It wasn't coming out at the same time as the Microsoft. So, Xbox 360 comes out. It's already out there. People are playing it. And then Sony's comes out after the fact, and it's $599. Like, that was a big blunder from their part. I think they need to fix that this time around. Come out with a cheaper console, and also fight hand in hand against Microsoft. Like, I personally enjoy both consoles, and I don't know like where I'm gonna be when it comes to next generation, because when I started this generation, I had a 360. Then I had a PS3 after that. It just happened that I had a 360. My 360 broke, and I was like, maybe I'll try the PS3 because it was cheaper at the time or whatever. It was like, at first, the $599 price of the PS3. I was like, I'm not buying that. And that turned me from, like, I had a PS2 when the PS2s were around. And then I went from that to a 360 because I was like, that's too expensive. So they lost, like, a person in me. But I went back just because of the fact that I was like, I want to try this out. And I just had it since now. So that's the only reason why I've still stuck around. But it'll be interesting to see what both of them do. Because, I think that this generation of consoles is really going to sell, like, who's the top dog. Because, you had, like, Microsoft was the top dog. I think we can agree on that, right? That
this generation.
Yeah, this generation, Microsoft was the best console. I know we sold millions and millions and billions, not even billions, but, made massive profits. They did really well for themselves. But they're not the core gamer, console. It was between Microsoft and Sony all along. And Microsoft obviously won this time around. I'm just really interested to see how Sony handles it, like, because I think they do that too, where they have these really cool ideas, and then they like screw it up, or kind of take a good idea and make it bad, if you know what I mean. It's a weird situation that I'm interested to see, and I'm really excited for the 20th as well. But sorry for going on a tangent there. What are you thinking regarding what do you think they're going to show off?
I really hope it's just they show at least some of what the graphics are going to be like for the PS4, some of the games, or at least the launch titles. Maybe, like, I really want to see, what's that Team Ico game?
The Last Guardian.
Last Guardian, I really want to see that, because I've loved their games.
Yeah. No, that's one of the things for me, is that I stand by to this day right now that Shadow of the Colossus is my favorite game I've ever played. And I'll wholeheartedly admit that there was a bunch of games from the 80s that I've never played, and I have my opinion on games is that you can really capture a game's essence in the moment. Like I'm playing BioShock right now. You're playing BioShock like a year ago or whatever, and the game still for me today stands up. I'm like, this is an amazing game, but something's lost a little bit just because I'm playing it, later, 5 years or 6 years later. There's something that isn't there that's the same thing. I think that if I went back and played like A Link to the Past or something like that, I really would still enjoy it, have a great time with it, but I just wouldn't get the same experience out of it than maybe I would if I played it back in the day. So, I look at Shadow of the Colossus, and I didn't play it on the PS2. I played it on the PS3 when the HD collection came out, and that game still grabbed me and was an amazing game, and like was actually like tugged on my heartstrings, and also just like the actual gameplay of it was so, like, it was just amazing overall. So I'm excited to see what they do with The Last Guardian, but I'm also really scared that it's going to suck at the same time too, because, it's kind of...
live up to the hype.
Yeah, well, you can't live up to the hype, and also they've had development problems. They've been in development hell. They haven't been able to get the console, or not the console, get the game out, when most people expected it to come out. So, it'll be interesting to see that. But I think the main thing we've got to take away from it is I pretty much we can agree that we're probably going to see the PS4. I think that's, you know, I know that there's a chance that it might not happen, but I can, you know, pretty much safely say to myself that the PS4 is going to be there. Just the interesting parts are going to be about what's going to be coming around that too. So we got other news here, but let's just continue on with the PS4 stuff just because we're already talking about it right now. Something that actually just happened before we started this podcast up was the fact that a prototype, at least it's considered to be a prototype of the PS4 controller, has been leaked by Destructoid. It's posted on Destructoid and also on IGN. They followed up an article on it, and sources are indicating that this is an actual legitimate controller for the game. It isn't the final controller. This isn't what it is going to be 100%. It could be, but it is the prototype that's been floating around. And some of the key features on there that were kind of apparent is the fact that you have the actual touch screen that they've been talking about, the black screen right there in the middle. I'll have a picture up with the video so you guys can see as well. But you can see the screen there, and obviously don't really know exactly what that's going to be for, but there's also a little bit below it, there's also an area where it looks like there's a speaker, so you can speak into the controller, or there's going to be the ability for audio to come out of the controller, and then there's an actual audio jack below it too. So 3 things that the original, like the PS3 DualShock right now does not have. And besides from that, the D-pad looks like it's a little bit more closer together, and it's a little bit more thicker as well. So that's kind of interesting to see as well. And then the big thing that's probably going to be a big talking point regarding it is that the analog sticks on the controller are now convex instead of concave. So when you're playing your 360 controller, your thumb or whatever, it goes inside the controller. It isn't. We have a PS3 controller right here, right now, and it's got that, stick that, it's a good stick, don't get me wrong, I enjoy playing with it, but then your hands, they can go like this if you're slipping off.
The surface goes inward instead of going outward.
Yep. What do you guys think regarding that? I know, Gage, you were talking about before, you prefer the PS3 over...
Yeah, I don't know, it's not just the sticks, although I do prefer those, but it's like, it's a little looser, and it's actually more accurate, I find, especially for shooter games.
Okay, yeah, I'm not sold either way just because I'm used to playing the PS3 more. So it's kind of like just what I usually do, but I'm also continually hear from people that they prefer like their hands actually being, there's their thumbs not moving around the controller. I guess you prefer
I definitely prefer the Xbox controller. I mean, I also play Xbox a lot more, so I might be used to using the controller, but as well as the fact that it just feels more comfortable to me. Whenever I've played on a PlayStation 3 with the controller in the past couple of years, it's just been a little bit weird for me.
Yeah, no, I think that's the same for everybody too, is that you just are more used to what you're using in the time. I think that both of them have their positives to it, but I'm interested to see how this works out, because this is kind of, if that is true, if that's what they're actually going to go with, that's kind of Sony saying, hey, this is actually probably the way to go, and, quitting on one of their own ideas that they had originally for the controller. But that's pretty much it with the controller. There is also, looks to be like there's a share button there as well on the side. It's kind of hard to see, but that's kind of a guessing point though, because really we don't know that much about that. It's just going off the rumors that we previously heard that there might be an ability to record gameplay off your controller. So that'll be, I really don't have that much more to say on it, but it'll be interesting to see what that means for. I think it actually looks all right. But the interesting part too, the whole like structure of the controller as well, is it looks a little bit more like a 360 controller too. Like this controller, the PS3 controller, I keep grabbing the PS3 controller here, but it handles well for me. But at the same time too, it's a little bit more, I would say, rigid in some ways. Like it just seems like this one, if you have a 360 controller, I've probably got one here somewhere, but I won't go find it right now. But it's just a little bit more rounded. This is still rounded, it's still nice, but you can see from the picture right there that it's like the stems of where you can hold on to the controller are a little bit shorter, but they also seem like they're a little bit bigger, so your hands can kind of wrap around the controller a little bit more. But what do you guys think of that prototype then? Do you think looks, I know we're not actually playing with the controller, but do you think that's a good prototype? Does that look good to you? Do you think those are good changes, that they are actual changes, or what do you think, Gage?
I think it looks kind of like the spawn of an Xbox controller and a PS3 controller.
Yeah, like a weird baby, right?
It looks like a Mad Catz controller.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's got a vibe to it. Like again, prototype controller, so hopefully the actual controller maybe looks a little bit more refined. Yeah. But it does have that weird feel to it. It's kind of, again, this could be a lie. It could not be the actual controller potentially, but again, it seems like sources are saying that this is a prototype that they've been using. So, what do you think about it? Do you like the design of how it looks, or are you kind of not really sold on? I know, again, not holding in your hands, but just from the visual.
It definitely looks a lot like an Xbox controller, but obviously with the shape and the buttons of a PlayStation controller, the shape looks like it'll fit in your hand a lot better than the PlayStation controller, at least to me. Mm-hmm. There might be other opinions about the controllers, but I definitely think it's upgrade compared to the PlayStation 3 controller.
Yeah, and the one thing that I'm most interested to see as well is how the triggers are going to be handled, because you can't really see from the picture, but right now you got your PS3 controller R2 and L2 triggers, which are the back triggers. They're really flippy. They can break. I've thrown a controller before, broken one of the flippy parts on the back of it. So I'd like something that's more like a button that you just press down on, not kind of like this little flip trigger. But again, gotta wait and see, and we might even see it in a week or so. So another interesting part there. And then the last part of PS3 or PS4 news that we got on this here this week is the fact that there's the potential for The Last Guardian to be a PS4 title. I know it's really up in the air because of what's going on, but it could maybe even be at the conference. That would be a really crazy turn of events, because we haven't seen the game since like 2008 or something like that.
It's been a while.
But yeah, what Fumito Ueda said, the former head of Studio Japan and the creator of Ico and Shadow of the Colossus, he spoke on his website saying to keep an eye out for more news on Last Guardian's development, stating it's Sony's job to announce more details about the game. This is obviously rumor and speculation, but he is kind of hinting at the point that it's not in his hands to say anything. It's in Sony's hands to say something about it, and maybe there's going to be a big announcement about it, and there's that date, 2/20, coming up pretty soon, so something could be going on with that. And then the last part connected to that too is that Killzone 4 looks to be a PS4 launch title as well, because there seems to be some rumors going around, essentially. From the original rumor came from videogamer.com, reporting that an industry source said that Killzone 4 is in development, and there is a chance that you might see it as a PS4 launch title, and probably by the end of 2013. So two companies that are, not PS3 but Sony owned, kind of gone quiet lately, and obviously there's going to be rumors and speculation coming around. We're going to know probably by the time we post the second podcast of these, we'll have a lot better of idea of what's going on with these guys. But let's move on, though, to a game that came out this week, and a game that I was excited for. Gage, not so much. He was worried. Tell your story you had. You were saying
So the game we're talking about is Aliens Colonial Marine, and I was excited for the previous Aliens game, the AVP game that came out for Xbox 360, and I think it came out for PS3, right?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. And so I went and bought that on release day, and then played it for about 3 hours, and immediately realized I'd wasted my money.
Was it a $59.99?
Yeah, I bought it at full price.
Okay, so it hurt a little bit more too.
Yeah, like it was an okay game.
Yeah.
But it was just like the Marine part, which was everyone was just kind of like, oh, it's just a basic shooter, was the longest part of the story, probably like 6 hours ish.
Yeah.
A little shorter than that. And then the Alien part was a little bit shorter, probably like 3 hours. And then the Predator part, which is what I was really looking forward to, was like an hour and a half to 2 hours. And I'm like, oh.
So just like from worst to best, the worst part of it had the longest.
Yeah.
But fast forward now, Aliens Colonial Marines, made by Gearbox, the guys that, or the studio that is involved with making Borderlands. They've had this game on the shelf for coming out for quite a long time. I think that another studio is making it. It got canned, and they took it over again, but it's been in development for years and years. Trailers come out, looked really cool. I was actually like, this is probably a game I'm going to have to buy when it comes around to February. And the reviews were not that great. They were essentially panning the game. A lot of them were like, this could have been great, but it is not great at all. It is quite terrible. The Metacritic score, I'm just saying this, I'm not, don't ever really trust that as a full, but the fact is that the score is 49 out of 100, and that's just taking all the reviews that are professional reviews on the game. Notable game websites were less kind than the Metacritic review, with IGN and GameSpot giving the game a 4.5, Game Informer with a 4.0, Polygon with 3.0, and Giant Bomb and Rev3 Games giving the game a 1 star out of 5. So safe to say this game is probably not one that you're going to want to pick up, and I'm glad I didn't. Did you have any interest in this game, Dan, or was this kind of like something you saw and you're like, ah?
I kind of, like, I've seen a couple of videos, but I didn't, like, get that much into it.
Yeah, and the reviews, what do they do for you? Do they make you want to get the game more or less?
Well, I didn't actually see the reviews.
Okay, fair enough. So you're still undecided, probably. Yeah.
Have you seen the graphics at all?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not nice.
That's the part that really is disappointing too. Is you look at like the trailers and stuff, it looked really sweet. I was like, this game looks like it's gonna be intense. It's gonna be awesome. But yeah, just not looking that great. Let's move on to some better news, and a game that we're likely going to do a spoiler cast for, and I'll quickly plug this part too, is that we'll be doing weekly podcasts such as this, but from time to time we'll also be doing these podcasts that are going to be spoiler casts, and you've probably seen them on other podcasts before, but we want to really make an integral part of what we do, so you guys can probably expect to see these, maybe once every month, maybe once every 2 months, really depending on how many good games are coming out. But, whenever a game comes out that more than, 2 of us want to play, then we'll be like, we'll set the timer on it, say, yep, we're going to do a spoiler cast on this, 2 or 3 weeks for us to finish the game, and then we'll come in here and talk real nitty-gritty about the spoilers, about the main story, and get you guys involved with emails as well. So yeah, stay tuned to those, and we might be doing one for this game here, which is Far Cry 3. It's a little bit behind, but the interesting news regarding this game is that obviously people are excited for this game, but it has been revealed that Ubisoft actually sold 4.5 million copies of Far Cry 3, which is pretty good for them, and this includes digital and retail sales, which exceeded their expectations. And question for you guys I have is, would you like to see more from this franchise?
Yeah, definitely. I don't know. I don't want them to just do a direct sequel to Far Cry 3. We're in the same sort of area, and it's like a continuation. I'd like to see them change it like they did with Far Cry, from Far Cry 2 to 3. Like a new area, completely new landscape, new animals, things like that.
I think that's the thing, too, is that I never played Far Cry 1. I played Far Cry 2, though, and it kind of enjoyed it, but I played like an hour of it, and I just was like, it just never hooked me, and I know a lot of people had issues with that game, just how it was, it wasn't really what they were looking for from the Far Cry series. But I really enjoyed playing Far Cry 3, and I think that I can attest for both you guys too that one of the best parts about playing the game was the fact that you just kind of went around the island.
Yeah.
And shit was going on constantly. When I started playing that game, I'm usually never like this, but when I started playing the game, I wanted to collect flowers, I wanted to hunt animals, I wanted to like do all the mundane shit that I possibly could. And yeah, I won't get too deep into the story or anything like that, because we'll leave that for a spoiler cast. We do that, but one of the things that was kind of funny for me is I enjoyed the world more than I really enjoyed the story and whatnot. I mean, the game's got a really good story up until a certain point, but the world it's a pretty cool world.
It's a pretty expansive world. What really gets me though is the kill system within the game. It just brings out so much fun.
Like the combo kills, or
yeah, the combo kills. In the beginning, you're just a little guy that can't do anything. All you can do is go up behind and throw a grenade.
Yeah, you're. It's cool. Like I didn't fully believe in the fact that he went from like this kind of scared little piece of shit to like this bona fide crazy killer. That was like a little bit of a jump for me, and like I totally related to the character, even though he was a bit of a douchebag at the beginning of the game. But then later on he kind of went a little bit zany. But I do agree though, like those combos and stuff were they were a lot of fun. Like especially when you got good, like you can unlock, and it was weird because it was like a first person shooter RPG element to
And they
it
did
as
it
well.
right though. Like a lot of the games, like I don't really enjoy how Borderlands does it. Like I still enjoy Borderlands, but the way they do their upgrade system,
Yeah.
where once you kind of selected something, you're going down that path.
That's what you're doing. That's,
Yeah. Far Cry 3, well, you're still like selecting things. I feel like you pick something that's not necessarily like great for your playstyle, it doesn't feel like you wasted a point.
No,
And,
definitely.
If you really want to, you can, like, eventually, no matter what, you'll have all the kill combos, whatever you want. So Far Cry 3, eventually you can be the god of kills.
Yeah.
However you want.
You can, and just the way you can go around that world too, and just really get into the fact that you're essentially, you get to the point where you're really powerful, and there's still points where it'll challenge you, but you kind of feel like you build up this, the way you want it. You know, I go around the world this way, so I'm going to get these upgrades that are going to help me better. And that really was kind of cool because it kind of tailored to my own experience. And I know that probably people had different experience with the game where they did different things. They went around it with a different way. But for me, like, I really enjoyed playing the game from just a kind of stealthy aspect of it. And I really built my guy up that way too, where it was like that was what my character had. But I do, like, for me, I really would like to see more from this franchise. The only thing I'm worried about, though, is that, you know, again, never played Far Cry 1. It's supposed to be a really good game. Completely changed the setting for Far Cry 2. And to mixed reviews. Now they go back to not the same thing, but a similar idea. Far Cry 3 went really well, really great reviews. Some people, you know, mixed reviews on which was the game of the year, but people were throwing that name around there. Far Cry 3 was in the category of potentially game of the year. So I'd be interested, but at the same time be a little worried of what they would do with this setting. I don't want them to do the exact same thing, but I also would be worried if they really went in a different direction. Because I think one of the best parts about the game was Voss. And that, you can't replicate that. Like, that's kind of the worrying part about that. But again, I talked about the fact that the world was my favorite part. So I have faith in them to do a good job of that. So
Voss was amazing. He was my favorite villain from gaming this year.
yeah. No, he definitely, he ticked all the boxes when it came to a good villain. So
Definitely one of my favorite villains of all time.
yeah. All right, so praise for that game. And thank God that we do not have Mike Lee, one of the members of the Checkpoint Achieve podcast, with us here today, because we can, I think, all three of us are in agreement with this next game, Assassin's Creed 3. We can maybe trash on this one a little bit more comparatively.
I've just been playing that for the first time. I didn't play it when it just came out.
Yeah.
And I literally got it about a week ago.
Yeah.
And because I was aware of like the reviews it was getting, of how it was like kind of
Yeah.
I'm actually enjoying it more than I think I would. I don't think, like, Brotherhood was by far the best one, but I still like this one. It has some cool aspects. It takes a long time to get going.
I think it's good, though, too, when you come into a game like that and you have lower expectations. Because for me, when I went into playing Assassin's Creed 3, I went into it with, like, okay, Brotherhood was really cool. They took what Assassin's Creed 2 did, made it better. Revelations, I was kind of like, I don't really want to play. Like, every other Assassin's Creed before that, I was like, yep, I'm there. I'm ready to play Assassin's Creed. Revelations was the first one that I was kind of like, I don't really need to do this. But when I knew Assassin's Creed 3 was coming out, and it was taking one of my favorite points of history, I was so sold on that game, and so expecting it to be, like, this awesome game. And don't get me wrong, I think it is a good game.
It is definitely
a good game, but it is not a great game. It is not an amazing game. It is not a classic, like, fantastic, awesome game. It is just a good game. I enjoyed it, but let's just jump to news on Assassin's Creed. And this one is regarding another part of the earnings calls for Ubisoft. Ubisoft talked about Far Cry 3 sales. They also talked about Assassin's Creed 3 sales. It sold 12 million copies, which is probably considered a success. They probably put more money into that to make that game, but at the same time too, that's a lot of copies to sell the game, so they're probably doing well, and you know, the series is not in a place of panic or peril. They've got the yearly franchise thing going on pretty good there. But the interesting part, though, is they're talking about the fact that they're going to be making another Assassin's Creed game for the fiscal year ending March 2014. Probably would be a fall, winter-ish game, 2013. probably we'll see another one around Christmas time. But the interesting part about it is that they're talking about the fact that they're not going to have Connor in the game, and it's going to be based in a different time frame. So I don't know if this means that they're going to come back to Connor at a later point, or if this means that they thought, Connor just really didn't do the trick for us. He wasn't the character that we wanted to have there. But my two questions for you guys are you done with Assassin's Creed? Like, I know you're playing it right now, so you're not done, obviously. You're still in it. But do you want more Assassin's Creed? And what would be a really cool time period for you guys to see? What would make you really interested in playing another Assassin's Creed game this fall?
Well, Assassin's Creed, I'm one of those guys that'll keep getting the games just because I want to replay that type of game.
Yeah.
Even if I know on paper it's not really a good idea. Like, I don't actually think it would be a good idea to keep going with the franchise. The ending to Assassin's Creed 3, Desmond's ending was not... It was horrible. But it was a good finale for the series.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they're going to keep going. I mean...
It'll be interesting to see as well where they go with that, too. Because, again, that kind of treading on spoiler zone, but we'll keep it to that, that the ending was... You see there's... Assassin's Creed 3 finishes up the trilogy. It lays it... There's kind of closure to what's going on there. And the closure makes you want to have a little bit more as well. But it'll be interesting to see as well where they go with that. I know, again, you have not finished the Gage, but it leaves it like, are they just going to go in the Animus, or what's going to happen with that exactly? I don't know. But where would be a place that you'd like to see the franchise go? Because you're saying, Dan, that you want to see more of it. Do you want to see more in the period that Connor was playing in, or do you want to see it in another space and time? Well, not another space, but you know what I mean.
I've always been wanting an Assassin's Creed game in modern times.
Okay.
But I don't know if they're ever actually going to do that, because it feels like they're not actually going to be able to make it realistic.
Yeah.
I mean, with all the guns in modern times, is all these assassinating not actually going to work how they want it.
Turns into like a third-person shooter at that point, almost, in a weird way. So,
19th century England, industrial times.
That would be really cool. I mean, I want to see... I'd like to see one... My personal one would be Cold War.
Oh, that'd be good.
And I just feel like if they took the Cold War... I know Black Ops kind of played around with this. The whole weird time travel Cold War thing. So, the Animus isn't time travel, but it is time travel at the same time, too. But I think it'd be really cool to kind of, like, see an assassin in whatever assassin bloodline, doesn't matter. But just someone that is behind the scenes of what's going on in the Cold War, maybe diffusing the Cuban Missile Crisis, maybe, there's just so many different things that you can kind of do with the Cold War, and there's also kind of like the room there as well to like make up history as well in a weird way. Like, they're kind of playing around with that now. They're doing the George Washington, he's the king of America type of thing with the DLC that they got coming. That's interesting. But they're playing with history. They're doing alternate history. I think that's kind of cool of them to do that, because then that gives them more freedom to play around with the title, right? But I'd be really interested to see if they did something like that where guns do play a part, but technology isn't like where it is now. So there's not like, you don't have phones, it's not necessarily what other games have been like. You start introducing guns a little bit more like they did in Assassin's Creed 3, but at the same time too, I think you can get away with it a little bit more if you do something in the 60s or something like that. So at least that's how I feel about it. My one thing I was going to say, that Mike Leahy, another member of the podcast, is yet to be on, he absolutely loves Assassin's Creed 3. So that's why I was saying that we get to, in front of him, anything that is said bad about the game will have an immediate response, but what is actually making me a terrible gamer for liking that or saying that is bad, or, you just were playing it wrong. That's, so that's funny part. He's probably pretty happy about that though, but he was, the other part too is that I know he liked Connor quite a bit, so it'll be interesting to see what they do with that, because, killing Connor, well, not killing Connor off, but, moving on with someone else is an interesting choice because they went on with Ezio for such a long time. So
I think they went on with Ezio a little too long, though.
Yeah.
Revelations was the one Assassin's Creed like main console game that I don't have. I played it for free on a family console in a different country. I beat it in like 14 hours. It wasn't like a very good game or anything. It was just a repeat of Brotherhood. So hopefully they don't do that sort of thing with any other character again.
I'd also, just to finish up on this, but just to kind of touch on again, I was talking about the Cold War thing and how it kind of draws lines to Black Ops, but something that they could actually take from the Activision, license and whatnot, is if they kind of had like a Treyarch, them making the off game or whatever you want to call it, and then having the two studios doing that, and it'd be really kind of cool actually in a way if they maybe did that and had on who knows what this character will be, but let's say they start a new trilogy with this character, and then every 2 years you get another game of that, and then on top of that too, maybe you get the other character, and it's every other year for that too, so you kind of get the back and forth of the stories. Maybe it's a little bit confusing in a way, but it'd be kind of interesting to see what they're going to do with that. At some point though, I think they're going to run this franchise somewhere close to the ground though. You were saying that Dan, you enjoy this series and you go back. No, you feel like you go back no matter what right now, right?
Yeah, I'll continue buying the games, but I know eventually they're just gonna not be good games anymore. They're not gonna be a AAA title.
I think it's gonna be still AAA, but it's just gonna be the point where does it draw a line between me losing interest as a gamer? I'm not saying me myself, but as everybody out there, there's gonna be a point where I bet people left the game at Brotherhood. They're like, no, don't want to play, those ones or whatever, and that was their choice. They drew their line in the sand there. For me, I played, like I said, AC1, 2, really enjoyed them. Brotherhood, really enjoyed it. Revelations, it dropped off. Then I'm like, wait, Assassin's Creed 3 is coming. Got my hopes up for that one. Enjoyed it, but I was kind of a little bit above Revelations, So I think if new Assassin's Creed comes out this fall and it looks really interesting, I'm going to buy the game still. I'm still at the point where they've got me hooked enough that I'll play more Assassin's Creed. But it's a matter of when that point's going to happen. For me, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 was the last time I ever played a Call of Duty game. And I know people say that Black Ops 2 was this really cool kind of single player thing going on, also more refined multiplayer and whatnot. But I just have never hopped back on the bandwagon since then, just because they lost me at that point where I was me as a gamer, I was I don't want to spend this money. I'd rather go buy something new than play another Call of Duty game at this point. And I think that they're going to do the same thing as well, where they're going to still keep making money off it, keep making a profit, and more people are going to be interested in, and it's going to be more of a thing, right? But at the same time, there's probably going to be a point where people like us start falling off. Where we're
it's already happened with Call of Duty. Because Black Ops 2, isn't it the first one to not make?
Yeah, well, it's officially the one that has now stopped the process of it peaking. It has gone to the point, is topped at at Modern Warfare 3, I guess, and has gone down. I think that's still going to be a massive franchise for quite a while, but it's that, thing where games do that after a while. You get bored of the same thing again and again.
My appeal to the Call of Duty franchise is just a game that you can always play with friends. If your entire group of friends has it, you can just go on and play the multiplayer. But in itself, it's been 2 months at every COD after Modern Warfare 2 where I play a lot less. I started at Modern Warfare 2, got to 10th Prestige 70, just destroyed the game, loved it, but then it just kept dropping in quality to me. Black Ops 2 was a great game, but I just couldn't enjoy it as much as I would have the old CODs.
Fair enough. Let's move on, though. We got one other bigger news story and then a couple other smaller ones that we'll touch on. And this one hits home real hard for me. The Last of Us has been delayed. Sony confirmed Tuesday The Last of Us, Naughty Dog's post-apocalyptic third-person action game, has been delayed from its original release date of May 7th to a new set date of June 14th. Delays are due to the studio wanting to not cut corners and take a few extra weeks to ensure the game lives up to Naughty Dog's high standards. I think this is a good thing. because any game that needs extra time and the developers are willing to do that, the publisher Sony is willing to say, yep, that's okay. I think that's always good, because I'd rather play a complete game that has been made well than a game that's been rushed and you can see issues with it. But at the same time too, it hurts a little bit right in my heart right here that I'm gonna have to wait another like 4 or 5 weeks for this game to come out. Interesting circumstance. So I know through people listening to this, there's probably gonna be some of you guys that are gonna like Last of Us. Out of, I don't know what your listeners are gonna be to start. Maybe like 2 out of the 2 people listening to this podcast. Oh, actually, hold on. 1, 2, 3. Our mothers, 1, 2, 3, so that's 6 people, and then like maybe 2 other people. So out of the 8 people listening to this podcast, I think maybe like 1 of them cares about the. Oh, actually, I care about the Last. So 2 of us care about the Last of Us. I guess, do you guys care about the Last of Us? Because I know 360 gamers over here. I know we're labeling each other right now. I just want to say this to you guys. I kind of come from the PS3 perspective, just because I play my console games on the PS3. I also play on the PC. I do play 360 games as well. But I just, when it's a multi-platform game, I prefer PC or PS3 over 360. That's just because I'm, like, if I play it on the PC, I grab the PS3 controller, plug it in. If I play on the PS3, I use the PS3 controller. Just kind of where my gaming is at. And I know that both you guys are 360 guys, right? And also PC a bit.
I also have a PS3. I just don't use it as much.
So you kind of same thing. You go multi-platform game, you kind of buy it for the 360. Yeah. So. But yeah, with that said, I guess, Dan, do you have a PS3?
I don't. I want to play The Last of Us, actually. However, I don't have a huge option for doing that.
Well, that's the thing, too. It's going to be interesting with that, right? Is that, like, are you going to buy Last of Us?
It's something I'm definitely going to buy, but I'm not going to follow it too heavily. I'm looking forward to it, but I just, like, I don't want to...
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, the thing for me is, another thing, too, I'm a big Naughty Dog fan. So I'm media blacking out on this game a bit too. Like I'm obviously telling you guys right now it's been delayed, but like when it comes to actual trailers, story points, anything like that, I'm trying my best just not to watch it, because I know for a fact when I go into this game, my expectation is no matter how hard I push them down are still going to be really high, and I don't want to know anything. I just want to like be surprised by the game, enjoy the game, have fun with the game. But at the same time too, yeah, I'm going to try and come from that point where I felt like for me, for Uncharted 3, that game, in all aspects was probably a better game than Uncharted 2 was. But I enjoyed Uncharted 2 more just because when I played Uncharted 2, I came from a point where I wasn't expecting anything. And I was like, this game's amazing when I played that game. And then like Uncharted 3, I was like, this game is going to be amazing. Played the game, it was a really good game, and you could even consider it to be an amazing game. But it just like my expectations were so high when I played it. So trying to lower my expectations for stuff like that too. But I think that's the cool thing about games like that, is you have multi-platform games sometimes where you guys preferably 360, but it's got your interest. Even it makes you go, hey, that would be kind of cool to play, and it'll be good too, because June, nothing's really coming out in June at this point, although things are being delayed right now. So it'll be interesting to see regarding that. But a couple other smaller pieces of news before we wrap up the news. Activision confirmed a new Call of Duty game will be coming out this fall.
Shocker.
And the sky is blue. It's been like this now for like 5, 6. I don't know. It's been
since Call of Duty 2.
Yeah. So it's been a while. It has been a while, and I don't know. I mean, it's always interesting. Like, I enjoy following. Like I said, haven't played since Modern Warfare 2, but it's interesting to see what they do, because I mean they have to continue innovating, and it'll be interesting to see just what they got up their sleeves with that. So, but there's a couple more here. At DICE conference this week, Gabe Newell and J.J. Abrams openly discussed the possibility of working in both video games and movies together. Just kind of talking about like maybe making a Portal movie, or like Half-Life movie, or like J.J. Abrams maybe making a game and Valve producing it. It's all hearsay and talk, but interesting to see that what might happen from that. I don't know if anything really will come from that though, and it's kind of one of those things too. Like J.J. Abrams is probably a pretty busy guy right now as well. Got the Star Wars, got the Star Trek, got probably other stuff going on too. But it's always interesting when stuff like that happens as well. Like Steven Spielberg wanted to like make games of EA a while back, and that didn't really happen, except for that block game. I don't remember what it was called. But yeah, no, it's that's that as well. And then some Nintendo news to wrap it up. Today Nintendo had I guess it was a conference. I did not watch the conference, but they had some 3DS announcements. Mario Luigi Dream Team, which is an RPG coming to the 3DS in the summer. Donkey Kong Country 3D coming out soon. Do not know when that one is. Animal Crossing, I believe, coming out in September for the 3DS, and Mario Golf. Any interest to you from this? I know I don't have a 3DS. I can get a 3DS if I need to play a game, but do you guys have 3DSs, or what's the situation on that?
I have a regular DS.
Fair enough.
I do have the 3DS, but I have not touched that since I first got it and played Zelda on it.
Gathering dust, right? Like
yeah.
it's a weird thing. Like I was just having this conversation before the podcast too, that I had a Vita. Actually, I didn't say this, but I had a Vita for like maybe 3 or 4 weeks. And I just realized that when I was playing my Vita, I was playing on the couch right next to my TV, and I was like, "There's no where am I in my life that I'm using this Vita?" Like, I mean, you can pull your phone out and play a game on your phone. That's kind of cool sometimes if you're on the bus or whatever. But I don't want to have this big hunking like Vita in my pocket and pull it out on the bus or whatever. It's one of those things that I don't. There's no real place for portable in my life, minus like playing on my phone if there's a phone game or whatever. But I guess people might be interested in that. I love Mario Golf games, and Animal Crossing as well, and Mario RPGs too, actually. But I'm just probably never gonna play any of these games.
Yeah,
so.
all those games are games that I like, but I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I saw them when I was looking up stuff for the news for the show, and it was weird because I was like, okay, finding stuff, and I was like, huh, that looks cool. Wonder what that is. And it was all 3DS stuff. Like every picture, like, oh, this new game. I'm like, sweet. Any of these games that they came to the Wii U, I'd start saying, that's cool. I still don't have a Wii U, and I don't really want a Wii U, but that starts making me want a Wii U a little bit more. Like, I know there was announcements about a new Super Smash Brothers, a new Zelda, a new this, that, and the other thing from another conference they did a little while ago. But I don't know. Like, it's just one of those things right now. I'm not really interested in Nintendo, what they've got going on. Like, I love Nintendo games. Don't get me wrong. I really enjoy Nintendo games, but I'm not willing to spend money on buying a console from them. And 3DS stuff just kind of meh. Yeah. But the one last thing I wanted to say, I just remembered this too. Didn't have it on the list here, but Rayman Legends. Did you guys play the Rayman Origins game that came out like a couple years ago?
Played it a bit. I played it. I played it at a friend's house, and I was like, this is pretty good, but it's not really like, I don't know, something I would play a lot of, so I didn't pick it up.
Okay. What about you, Dan? Did you get
Never played a Rayman, so...
Okay, yeah, no, I never played Rayman until that game, and I played that game when I was trying to play a bunch of games in the same year. It was actually really fun. It was really kind of a cool platformer. But that one was supposed to come out, I believe, in March for the Wii U, and they delayed it till September, and it's coming out for 360 and PS3. So one of those games that was going to be an exclusive, so something that might have got people interested in the Wii U, is now officially a title for all the consoles. So there's another thing that the Wii U doesn't have to itself. What do you guys feel about the Wii U just in general? Like it I know I think just, you guys can't see it, but I can see from their expressions, it's quiet in the room right now. It's very quiet.
The Wii U has some problems. Like, I don't think Nintendo realizes how big multiplayer is right now. Like Xbox Live and PlayStation PlayStation Network, and I don't know. I don't have that much interest in the Wii U right now. There's nothing really out for it that's like substantial.
All right, yeah, no, it's one of those things. When it came out originally, I was actually almost on the cusp of buying it when it came out. I was that close, because I post stuff on my YouTube channel as well, and I was doing stuff through that, and I'm like, maybe this would be kind of a cool thing for me to do, but just the games weren't there, and the games are still not there, and the games, I don't know where they are. The games are not there, not here, not anywhere. It's kind of like, I know they're talking about cool games coming out, but it's one of those things that right now just not really that much out there to be excited about. And I bet I'm not speaking for everybody when it comes to that, but I mean, just for me, I'm really interested to see what Sony does. I'm really interested to see what Microsoft does. Nintendo's already played their cards. They're not going to have this console that's going to match those two. And I kind of feel like it's the Wii, over again. But this time, it's more obscure.
And without the casual gamers coming and buying it up.
So it could be very much like a GameCube type of scenario, where the GameCube was a cool system. I had a GameCube. But it was very niche. Like, you didn't need to have a GameCube. You could get everything you wanted off the PS2 and like the Xbox. But the GameCube was there for you to play your Nintendo games pretty much. But yeah, that's pretty much it for news. Let's move on to what you guys have been playing this week. We talked a little bit about that at the beginning of the show. Usually as well, we'll also be talking about potentially topics of the week and whatnot from you guys, user submitted stuff. For this episode, we don't have any of that just because of the fact that this is our first one. Didn't put anything out beforehand, so no questions to go off. But if you want to send in questions for the future, you can send that to checkpointachieved@gmail.com. And just send that there and just label it essentially what you want to talk about for your question. If you got a spoiler cast question, we'll talk about, hey, we're going to do this spoiler cast coming up soon. Send your questions in for that, and then you can label it for, let's say, Far Cry 3, and then, your question for that. But you guys can send in your questions because we'll have emails at the end of the show normally. And also, if you want to have more of a broader question, want to kind of send in a topic of the week question, then you can send that in as well. And if we enjoy your topic of the week, we might spend some time and talk about that as well. But let's just jump into games we've been playing. And we talked about that a little bit at the beginning. I'm going to start off with you, Dan. Minecraft, that's a big one. We'll talk about the other game too. Because, I mean, right now, more than any time, I think games are games. You play a Flash game, you play a game on your phone, play a game on your PC, your console, it's all the same thing. So I think that's a good place to start from too. That if you find something cool, like I was playing Surgeon Simulator 2013, just a Flash game essentially. And it's like QWOP. You play it with, you got your hands on the keyboard, and each of your fingers that you've got on a key stands for a finger in the game. You're trying to grab stuff, and you're trying to perform surgery on this guy. It's not a game that's that, deep. It's the same thing again and again. It takes like 5 minutes to play it. But it's still like a fun experience. A game that you can play, and, just letting people know about games is a good thing to talk about too. And also, if you guys got games you want us to check out too, you can also send that into as a, not even a question, but just, hey, check this out at checkpointachieved@gmail.com. But yeah, no, again, what's been going on for you with Minecraft? And you got anything cool going on? Or is it just like survivor mode you're playing essentially? Or
yeah, I've pretty much just been playing survival mode. I've tried creative mode a bit, but I've never been the type to build huge things. I used to be into Forge for Halo. I never built anything crazy. But with Minecraft, I enjoy the survival mode. Just because you can build up your house, try and make sure that no creepers can blow it up, or you can create a farm just to make sure that you can have enough food to go cave diving. I mean, I'm kind of screwed right now because my world doesn't have a nether world, so I can't get like all the things that I want. I can't. A lot of you won't actually know what I'm talking about, but there's nether fortresses in the nether world, which is like a second dimension in the Minecraft world.
Okay, and there's like gates and stuff? Because again, I haven't played like that Minecraft that deep, but I know just from, seeing my brother play, there's these weird like purple gates that he goes through. Is that what it is? Portals. So I sound like I'm Minecraft challenged, but yeah, I really am when it comes to that.
Those gates are called obsidian gates, and you have to build it. What happens is you have to find somewhere with lava that's touching water, and there's like black stones, and you have to have I can't remember what kind of pickaxe, like a diamond pickaxe, sorry. Diamond pickaxe will drill the obsidian, which takes 15 seconds just to get one. You have to spend like a good 10 minutes getting a bunch, and you take 10 blocks build a gate, and then you spark it up with a flint, go in, and then it's just like, it's basically hell. It's the hell of Minecraft.
Okay. That wasn't something that was in the game originally, was it?
Originally, I don't think so.
Because I feel like I missed the hell part of Minecraft.
It's been it for a while now, though.
Yeah.
Like a year.
Because I remember there's like
quite a while.
Yeah.
Xbox is a year behind.
Yeah.
A year or a year and a half behind computer Minecraft. So it's been out for at least a year and a half to 2 years.
Okay. And is that where you go essentially? Again, I don't know anything, but because there's like a final boss too, isn't there? Or like how do you get to that guy? We won't go on Minecraft too much because I know that's kind of everybody knows, but I'm interested here at least. Like because the netherworld is where that thing lives, right? Or
actually, there's a third dimension.
Oh,
but there's within the netherworld there is a boss that's in nether fortresses, which I said I don't have in my world because it's like a random thing that shows up. Usually it appears, but it didn't for me.
Fair enough.
But for the computer, there's like 4 or 5 bosses. Like you can take a couple skulls and make this flying.
The Wither.
The Wither.
The Wither.
You create the Wither, and then it's just like some monster thing that shoots fireballs at you at insane speeds.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, and then there's like the Nether Wisp or something, and then there's the End Dragon, which is the end, another world, which is basically the final boss. Like the final boss of Minecraft. It is and what happens is you have to get some Ender eyes, and you have to get some spark torch things. You have to mix it up or craft them into Ender eyes.
Eyes of Ender?
Eyes of Ender.
I'm completely lost, but it's cool. Continue.
And then you find a stronghold. There are 3 in every world, no matter what. You throw an Eye of Ender, chase after it. It'll show you where the stronghold is, and then you put 10 of those eyes of Ender into the portal, go into the portal, and kill the Ender Dragon.
Okay. So, if I ever do that, I'll just listen to this podcast and I'll be good to go. And again, what was that? Where can you go to play that other game you were talking about? The one before?
Happy Wars. I'm not sure if it's on PlayStation. It's definitely an Xbox arcade game.
Okay, is it indie or is it just like a game?
It's an indie game. It was pretty popular. It came out last summer.
Okay.
I got into it about a month and a half ago, and I've been playing it on and off since.
So it's not Team Fortress. It's like
it's kind of similar to Fat Princess for the PS3.
Okay. Yeah. No, Fat Princess is a cool game. But yeah, so you're essentially just trying to get into.
What happens is you can build and destroy towers. You have a tower in your base and a tower in the enemy base. You can be a mage, a warrior, or a cleric.
Yeah.
You have specific skills. It's a bit random depending on the world and just luck. You try and get to the enemy gate, destroy the gate, or try and get into the castle however you can. Destroy their tower, and then you win the game.
Alright. So, yeah, no, I guess I'll see if I can check that one out. That sounds pretty cool. Like, sounds similar to Fat Princess as well. I played that a little bit, but never really got into it that much. Yeah, no, what have you been playing, Gage?
I've been playing mostly Assassin's Creed 3 and Dead Space 2.
Okay. Let's start off with the newest one, Assassin's Creed 3. Where are you at? And just so you guys know, usually we will not talk that spoilery, but if we start talking about a game, you know, we'll keep it pretty much. If it's a brand new game, like if it's a game within the first month or so, we'll keep the talks about it pretty bland. Like we'll talk about what we like about the game and whatnot, but we won't get into the spoiler content of the game. But if it's a game like Assassin's Creed 3, now out for about 4 months or so, or 3 months, or, you know, give or take, we won't talk about the ending of the game, because obviously you haven't finished the ending of the game, unless we're doing a spoiler cast. But we'll start, you know, like if you want to talk about some of the specific points you're at, unless they're, you know, cruxes of the story, then we'll kind of let into those. But, you know, keep that in mind when you're listening. I will, if we're going to jump, if someone really wants to talk about a spoiler, we'll we'll let you guys know, or I'll edit in afterwards, hey, watch out for the spoiler here. But we will kind of talk about the story. So if you're one of those people that doesn't want to hear anything about the game at all, and you haven't played Assassin's Creed 3 yet, then just skip a little bit of the podcast and come back. But just heads up for the future when we're talking about games that have been around for a bit. So
Okay, so I found Assassin's Creed 3 took a long time to get going.
Yeah.
Like I knew I'd heard that it was gonna take a while, but I did not think it was gonna take. Like I was probably playing for 4 to 5 hours before, or even more before I became Connor.
Yeah.
With the like full equipment and everything. The story is actually like I like the story a fair amount. That first twist before you're playing as Connor and you're playing as what's his name?
Hayden.
Yeah, Hatham.
What?
I was just like, whoa.
Yeah. No,
And then,
it's a good twist.
Yeah.
Like the game does that too, where it's like it's like essentially like the disc skips or like it scratches where it's like what, and then like they're like the Animus is like, whoa, what's going on? There's a story element. Yeah. No, it was funny. Because when I was playing it too, it was like it felt that way. It felt like a good, kind of thing that happened. But at the same time too, you're like, the game also kind of goes like, wait, what?
I'm pretty sure I had already read about that first twist too, but I just completely forgotten. So when I got to it, I was still surprised.
Yeah.
I don't know. But besides that, like the first 4 hours of the game are very, very slow, especially when you're playing as child Connor. I did not enjoy that, and I don't know. It's fun. It's not as good as some of the other Assassin's Creed, but it's not the worst one in the series.
Where are you at right now specifically?
I'm pretty sure I'm not very far. I've been playing as Connor for a bit, but since I just became Connor, I've been kind of messing around, going for like almanac pages.
It's when you officially kind of can actually play the game.
Yeah.
That's one of the really weird points. We're talking about GTA before, right? At the beginning of the podcast. How in that game you essentially can go right into it pretty much. Maybe play like 30 minutes of the game. You have, like, you can put cheat codes in or whatever at that time to get what you want, but you can pretty much do whatever you want. Even if you have nothing, even if you don't even use cheat codes, you can just go around, goof off. Assassin's Creed didn't let you do that, which is like what you could kind of do in the past with Assassin's Creed games till like 5 hours in or whatever.
Yeah.
Like you could do with Hatham a bit, but it was kind of weird. Like he couldn't climb trees, and he's like,
yeah. The first thing I did is when I wasn't doing a mission, I'm like, I'm gonna go climb a tree now because I've been looking, and he just jumped into the tree.
Yeah,
and
he's
fell
like,
down.
Wah! And then you're like, okay.
And then sometimes he'll like kind of land on it for a second. You'll be like, oh wait, I can't climb trees, and just like falls down.
That's what they should have. When you find out what that has to happen at that spoiler point, that's when you connect the dots. Like, oh, those guys can't climb trees, and assassins can climb trees, and it's like, it was kind of weird because like I felt like he should have been able to do that, but it was still kind of funny at the same time too. It was like, I guess I can't climb trees then, but the game's still really cool. Like there's the snow physics is just kind of like I loved that. If you played the fortress mission where you're like going out in the snow as Connor, no,
Wait,
okay,
maybe.
Because there's one really cool one where you're chasing Connor's mom as Hatham, and you're like in the snow, and you're kind of like rumbling through the snow, and it's hard to get through. But later on in the game, it's like I don't feel like it's that far through. But there's a point where you have to go
into a fortress.
Yeah,
as Hatham.
As Connor. And oh wait, is it Hatham?
It's Hatham. It's like immediately after that.
And then you have to like sabotage the cannon.
Yes. Sorry. Okay, I was throwing you guys off there, but you know what I mean. That was a cool mission, right? It
was kind of the tutorial to take over fortresses, and it was a lot of fun, and I definitely enjoyed it.
Yeah,
quite a bit.
Yeah, no, that was a cool one, and I mean, the one other thing while we're on the whole Assassin's Creed thing right now, what are you guys' thoughts on the whole Pirates of the Caribbean Assassin's Creed thing going on there?
I have not really played around. Like, you mean the ship?
Yeah, that's a bad way to introduce that part. But I mean, like, essentially when you're going around on your ship.
It controls pretty well. And I had more fun with... I've only played the one mission, like the intro mission for that. but I had more fun doing that than I did anything else in the tutorial, really.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's how I felt about that too. Is like I felt like when I played the ship thing, it was something that was completely new, and I thought it was really cool. Like I really enjoyed doing it. I've talked to people about it that said that that was a part that they thought that shouldn't be in the game. They thought that that was a bad part of the game. But for me, I was like, I want innovation out of Assassin's Creed. And if they're going to give me something like ship combat, I'm going to jump on and be like, that's sweet, because that's something that they didn't do before. And it was really surprising as well, because you saw it at E3, like the E3 coverage, they had the ship combat. But when you actually play the game, it takes you like kind of by surprise in a way. Like it made me, I felt like I was kind of like, well, that's actually kind of cool. And I really enjoyed it because it was, I wasn't expecting it. I was like up until that point kind of frustrated with the story a little bit, and it was like a refreshing point in the game for me where I was like, this is neat and this is different, and it was exciting to play that part and play future parts when you're on the sea. But yeah, no. So Assassin's Creed 3, you probably like halfway with sequence 6 maybe or 7 or.
I think I went sequence. I think I just finished sequence 5.
Oh, okay. So you're still you got a ways to go.
Yeah.
But keep us up to date on that one. Let us know how you feel about that game as you continue to get deeper into what is Assassin's Creed 3. But I know one of the things that we were thinking about doing was we're going to do a Dead Space 3 spoiler cast potentially, but getting the podcast set up took a little bit longer than we might have thought to get it set up. So kind of abandoned that, but and I have not played Dead Space 3, so I don't, I haven't gone into that, but I know that you still want to play that game, and going back, you're playing Dead Space 2 right now, so how's that experience going for you?
It's good. I knew what to expect. There's been reviews of it for a while. It's kind of older.
Yeah. Did you play it before, or are you like replaying it?
I played it for like less than an hour.
Okay.
And was just kind of like, oh, okay then. And it's fun. It's a good Dead Space game. It's not as scary, or like there's not as many, I don't know, moments where I'm actually terrified. And it's just like I know what to expect now. I'm like, oh, I just activated the elevator, so I should probably go wait in this corner for the aliens to come out.
I love that too. How like that's another response that people say about like the Dead Space games. I feel like that with most games that are scary. I'm like, fuck this, I'm gonna go in the corner and hide, and that's what I'm gonna do, and then they're gonna come to me.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Shotgun all the way. I know that no shotguns in the Dead Space universe, or wait, is there like equivalent? Because I know it's like engineer equipment that you're using, right?
Yeah, maybe the line cutter, because it kind of fires like a big. Because the plasma cutter just fires like kind of like a blade. I'd say. Yeah. That's like it fires like a big one.
Okay.
But I don't really use that. I pretty much just use the plasma cutter.
And one thing that I played the Dead Space 3 demo, so I'm not gonna really talk about that because everybody can play it. It's it's one of those things. It's been around, and again, if demos come out in the future and it's like brand new, then maybe we'll talk about it a little bit. But there's no real need to talk about that. But it was cool. Like the whole I had fun playing it. Wasn't that scary. But the one part I really did enjoy was the kind of manufacturing your own equipment. That was kind of a cool thing that they were doing with that. And one part that I'm excited to hear what you think of when you get to that point. So where are you at with Dead Space 2 then right now? Or
I'm just about halfway through it, but I played all that in one sitting.
Okay, so you went Dead Space 2. You immersed yourself into Dead Space, and then you are now just like, okay.
And I tried to play it usually when I play Dead Space, I'm like listening to something else and not like fully immersed, but I'm like, this time I'm gonna I put my headset on, I turned off all the lights, and I just like played it, and I don't know, I was always kind of like on edge, but I was never really terrified just because I knew what I was getting into.
Last night I played, this isn't the same thing, but I played BioShock in the dark with my headphones on. Like I played with these big surround sound and was listening to the game on like a high volume, and I'm like, what is wrong with me? It's not on that level of scary, but like when people are walking around like, where's my mommy? Where's my mommy? Run! And I'm like, Jesus Christ, shut up. I just carry the shotgun around with me, and then I get them real close to them, and then just hit them right in the face, and I'm like, there you go. You can't say that anymore. There's points, though, and I'm now, sorry, did you have anything more about Dead Space 2? No, I'm cutting into your Dead Space talk and jumping in with BioShock. You guys probably have all played BioShock, so I will keep it light. But we'll talk a little bit about it, Dan, because you're in it a bit. But that's now my number one focus. BioShock is the game that I've got sitting there where anytime I don't want to play, like when I want to play that, it's gonna be points. So I'm gonna force myself a little bit to do it. Not that it's a bad game or anything like that, but it's gonna be the game that I want to get through because I want to be like knowing what went on in that game and be prepared for BioShock Infinite. Because I'm really excited for that game. But there's points in that game where it's just a little freaky. Like I enjoy it. It's fun. Like, there's one point that specifically stood out to me was that there's like this splicer that had I guess it was like a baby carriage, and it was like singing to its baby, and I like walked up and it was like a shotgun inside, and I'm like, I was just like, not my baby, and I'm like, no, it's a shotgun, it's not your baby. Worst part of my experience with BioShock though is that I accidentally harvested a little sister. Oh. Like, I've been trying to rescue all of them, and it's like, that feels like I wanted to do it every single time, and I accidentally pressed the button. And, like, I've been playing for, like, 30 minutes without saving, and I stopped the game, and I thought about it for, like, a good 30 seconds. I'm like, am I going to go back and play those 30 minutes and keep this going, or am I going to continue? I just continued at that point, but it was funny, because I was, like, I was trying that, and you know how that happens in games where you accidentally just like it's like stuck on a decision you're thinking about and like some random thing clicks and you're like, no, I didn't want to choose that. But no, it's been fun. Where are you at? Because I feel like maybe I'm a little bit farther than you.
Yeah, you're definitely a little bit further. Like I said, I haven't played it in a year, so I'm a little bit fuzzy on the storyline. I think I got to the like second area, sort of like there was like the generally first area where you fight the first Big Daddy and all that, and then I think I'm a little bit after that. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure how far that.
Oh, that's fair enough. Is. It's been a year. I'm not going to hold you to it or anything, but for me, the two things I'll touch on. We'll jump to something else here, but two things that I'll touch on: the fact that I love the fact that this game makes you feel like kind of a badass as you build up your powers. Yeah. Like when I first was meeting the Big Daddies, they were just kicking my ass, and I was like hiding and running away. Now I just full on, like, I'm taking them on right now. Like, got my shotgun, got my plasmids, you know, everything. I'm clicking. I'm doing good. I'm essentially killing the thing within, like, a minute or so. And I'm not taking that much health damage. And it's cool because, I mean, like, at first I was like, this game is going to be really hard to finish because it is, like, kicking me in the ass right now. But I've kind of reached the point where I'm now starting to turn the curve where I'm a little bit more powerful.
What plasmids are you using?
I was using, I think, let's see, I like using the bees. Yeah. Because the bees are just fun to see on the hand. So I use those ones. There's like, I like using the fire as well, but I also, my favorite thing is I enjoy the, like, just spamming plasmids after using like an electro bolt shotgun round, which essentially like freezes them and they're stuck and they're shocked, so they're not moving for a couple seconds, and then just like, you know, shooting more plasmids at them. But I guess I use this incinerate. I never really use, like, I like the plasmids that do damage. I don't usually like use stuff that's like doppelganger or something like that. I kind of go for more things that just hit them. I don't know. I enjoy that more. I don't do like the I'm over here or like this protects me or something like that. But the one thing that's getting on my nerves though are those security alarms. I'm just like, I always feel like there's so many security alarms and I'm not using them, and then I get like an alarm set off and it cannot find a security like disabler anywhere.
That's the one thing I like that they did with BioShock 2 over BioShock 1 is they changed the way that hacking works. So instead of going into like a little tube mini game, it's like you shoot a dart. And then that dart is like, it's a meter going back and forth across the screen, and you have to press it in the green zone. And if you press it in the red zone, it'll like trip the alarm, I think.
That's cool. I mean, I don't mind the hacking the way it is now, but there's some of them are just so hard that it's like you pretty much you're just not going to get it. Yeah. So not necessarily bad. Just it's I find sometimes I'm just like, am I going to buy this? Like because you can buy out the thing if you want to. I don't really want to talk about Resistance 3 anymore because that's pretty much what it was. But the two games that I will talk about a little bit just before we finish up this podcast is No Kuni and Antichamber. And I'll start off with Antichamber. Antichamber, do you guys know what the game's about? I think we talked about it a little bit, Gage. Dan, have you seen anything?
I've definitely seen something about it. I haven't looked too much into it, but I've definitely seen trailers, and I thought it looked interesting.
Yeah, so it's hard to explain, because it's kind of... You can draw the lines between it and Portal, in a way, because it's very much... It's a puzzle game. That's all there is to it. There is a story to it, and again, I'm going to be light on talking about what this actual game is about, just because that's what the experience is, really kind of getting into it. But what's really cool about Antichamber is when you play this game, it's kind of an experience that you have to have for yourself, because people can tell you, oh, this is cool and whatnot, but you don't really get it until you actually start playing the game. And it's all really about you kind of figuring out these puzzles that don't necessarily fit in the realm of normal logic, you know? There's some that are kind of like, oh, that makes sense, but other times too, it really tests you to think ways that, you know, kind of aren't conventional. So you go into a certain situation, and I've heard this plenty of times, so I'm going to spoil like one of the first puzzles, is you come up to these two stairs. One's red and one's blue, and one's going up and one's going down, and you have to choose which way to go. And you choose the blue way, and you go up the blue one, and you come back around, and once you go to, or actually you go up the blue stairs, you go through the hallway, and you come around to this point where you see the stairs again. So you've just done a loop. And this game does this a lot, where it relies on your first-person vision, because first-person vision is very, you know, you're like this when you're playing. You can't see what's going on around you all the time, so the game relies on that to teleport you to other parts of the game and do stuff where it kind of messes with your head, like, where am I, what's going on, and whatnot. So you do that, you go to the blue stairs, that happens, go down the red stairs, it continually happens, and then it kind of dawns on you, you're like, how am I going to get through this? And you realize, like, there's these little black boxes everywhere through the game that have, like, these little life lessons or, you know, stories that connect, and they're clues to what you're doing, but they're also kind of like, they're rewards in a way, like you get through this certain part, and it'll have this little just one sentence saying, you know, sometimes you need to look down in order to get up, or something like that, you know. Or the one that was actually specific was like, sometimes you need to fall to, you know, get to where you're going, essentially. That's not really what it is either, but they do that where they kind of, it's rewarding, but also kind of tells you what you need to do in a weird way. So for this case, then, you're going up and down, you're trying again and again, you're like, what's going on? And this is how your brain kicks in by when you start playing the game, is you realize, wait, what about where I came from? Because each time you go around, and when you come around the corner and you're staring at them, if you turn around and you go back, the place where you came is no longer there, and it's like this new entrance going out. So the game does this a lot, and it's not necessarily just like that, but it tests what is actual logic, and then makes you figure out, you know, okay, is this actually like how can I get through this circumstance? And sometimes you really try every single thing that you think is possible, and then you come to a solution by just simply thinking with like the weird parts of your brain, if you know what I mean. Like you go to that weird spot in your brain where you're like, well, I've tried everything that makes sense. Maybe if I run into this wall, I will be teleported to this other area. Like really weird stuff where at the end of the game, I'd be like checking the corners of the walls and like doing weird things, just like things that you would never do in a game, just because like maybe there's a clue in this corner or something like that, where it kind of builds you up that way, where it teaches you things too. Like, so these certain things start coming into place where you're like, another one, again, last puzzle that I'll kind of talk about, but there's this one where there's this door that you walk towards each time, and it closes when you get close to it, but if you walk backwards, the door opens up. And again, you wouldn't really walk backwards through a door, but the game kind of says, hey, that got you through this part, and you start building that up. And later on in the game, the weird part of the game is that you're really kind of relying on these puzzle mechanics and using your brain in weird ways to figure this out. And when the game kind of continues to grow, you start using guns in the game that have different purposes. And you start off with a blue gun, then move to a green gun, then a yellow gun, and then a red gun. And the blue gun, when you first get it, you're like, holy crap, all these puzzles I couldn't solve before, now I can now solve. and it opens up all these different parts of the game. But when you do that, the game really starts to kind of stop being like a, I don't know what the word is, but like it stops really playing around with the weird kind of like setups to levels and stuff like that, and really just starts becoming more of like a mind puzzler where you're trying to figure out how to use these certain blocks and use your gun in a certain way to open certain doors. It stops doing all that, you know, stairway stuff, all the kind of the mind bending. There we go. Stops playing with the mind so much and starts kind of just turning into more Portal-ish in the way where you're really just kind of taking what you have in your hands and getting through that room with all you have. Because that's the weird contrast that the game does. At the beginning of the game, you're going through these levels and you're just trying to figure out unconventional ways to get through them. But then later on in the game, you kind of conventionally have everything in your disposal to figure it out. There's still really cool parts later on in the game where it's like, you really have to think hard, and I was banging my head against like this table right here, just like trying to get through certain parts. But it was rewarding in the end because not necessarily is there anything like amazing and like, oh my god, the world makes so much sense after being this story or anything like. There's no like great ending to the game because it's just really just a puzzle game. But the cool part is that by the end of the game, you feel really accomplished, and it's one of those games that you hate yourself for being dumb when you can't solve the puzzle, but then you love your, like, you think that you're amazing after you finish the puzzle. You kind of are like, yes, I was able to do it, and you feel smart about doing it. You're like, I was able to figure this out. And it's a cool kind of thing that the game plays on, because it's hard to do that. You know, most games don't really make you feel that way, but it was cool that it was able to do that with this game. It was definitely a fun experience, and I think it's like, I know it was on sale for $14.99 on Steam, and I don't think it's coming. Well, it's on Steam right now. Like, it just went up a couple weeks ago. So you can get that. But for XBLA and PSN, I don't think there's a release date. It might be moving, like, in the near future. But it's one of those things that maybe if it's a success, then they can start porting it over or whatever. So, but yeah, the one part that's really funny about this game is that supposedly, I was trying to find out, like, there's this one thing that you keep finding around the whole place. It's like this pink brick that moves when you get near it and it goes away. And I thought I was like trying to find like this really, like, this was a main clue to the story. And it turns out that it was actually just like a thing that was there. Like, the developer of the game said that, yeah, that's there, but it doesn't do anything. And it was really funny because I spent like so much of my time playing that game trying to find those pink ones because they're so interesting. Like, you'd walk around the room and it would move by itself, and then eventually it would like disappear into the wall, and then you find these really weird spots. You'd find it again, and I felt like I was moving it to like the final part, and it would like go, and then it would like be the key to like unlock the final door, but it just turned out it was like something that didn't even mean anything to the game. So that's my experience with that. And No Kuni was the other thing I've been playing, and honestly this week I haven't played that much No Kuni. More resistance to getting through that, but I want to talk a little bit about it because really it's a new game. It's a really cool game, and I'm having a lot of fun with it, but it's a very long game as well. Like, it's I can see it written in the pavement that this game is going to be like a 40-50 hour game. I've already heard stuff about being that long. I think I'm like 18 or 19 hours into the game, and you have yourself. Do you guys know that much about what Ni no Kuni is? Or?
Yeah, I know a fair amount. I haven't played it. I've been looking at picking it up maybe, but the kind of time that you have to put into it to beat it.
It's weird. Like the JRPG setup sometimes. Like I was talking about Final Fantasy earlier. I just don't want to play that game because it's just so long. Like, I feel like I could play this one because it's brand new and it's like it's relevant to play the game. But at the same time, just so much of my time put into it. Have you heard anything about it, Dan? Or
I hadn't heard about it until you mentioned it a little while ago, but I get where it's coming from. It's sort of like Dragon Quest, I guess. Yeah,
it definitely has some similarities to that. It also really kind of reminds me of playing Pokemon in some ways, just because a lot of the games really collecting these, well, not collecting, but you train these monsters that you find in the wild and whatnot. And it's really cool, actually, because you build up your familiars that you have. This is what it's actually called in the game. You have these familiars which are considered to be like a piece of your heart, or like what you are. And this game is really earnest too, which is hard to explain, but it almost is cringeworthy at points where you're like, the game is so like, we're gonna do this to save the world, and like she's missing a piece of her heart. We need to help her and find it for her. She is losing her kindness. We need to help her find her other part of her heart that has kindness in it so that she's happy again. And stuff like that's going on where you're like, it's kind of cute because it's like children doing this and going around, right? But at the same time as well, like I had this certain like feeling inside of me where I'm like, too much cuteness. So when I'm playing the game, it's fun and I'm enjoying it. But it has like the Pokemon aspect where you have one to start off with. You can name them all too. So I have like all these weird names.
You have more than one? Like once, because if it's like part of you, are you locked into one?
No, it was kind of weird. Like I thought that was the way it was going to be, but then you can actually trade them, like switch them around to like with your party, not trade them overall. Okay. You have certain ones that you're actually better with as well. So you kind of build that up, and that's the whole basis of it, that you want your guy to be the type of guy that you want. And they all have kind of like little classes for them too. So you have certain ones that are good for you. Your other party members, like one of them that you meet is more of a healer, and the other one that you meet later on is kind of, I don't want to say more attack worthy, but is a little bit less on the defense. You're kind of like the all around, and one's more magic, and the other one's more just like full on attack later on. So those are your companions that you meet up with, and you can kind of give them what they what would work better for them, so you can trade them around and whatnot. And that's really the basics of the combat. It's very much, real-time combat. You're not doing any turn-based combat or anything like that. You're fighting these guys, and it's really, you have to make quick decisions. And the boss battles are probably the best part about the game in the gameplay, because the bosses are actually really challenging. If you haven't leveled up, you haven't grinded enough with your characters, then you're going to get your ass kicked when you're playing them. And it's really cool, too, just because they're so varied and there's so many of them. That they're really enjoyable to play because they do kind of take away from what can be very generic combat after a while, because like I said, I've been playing about 19 hours. This combat is like you're walking around the world and then some monster sees you and then runs towards you, and that's the combat constantly. When you find these bosses, they're like 20-minute battles and very, very intense, and you got to think of your brain too. So those are enjoyable, and I had a lot of fun with them. And the world and places that you go to are really cool as well. And overall, I'm really enjoying the game. Just the one part that's going to be trouble for me is getting back to it, especially we're starting to see more delays now for other games, but there's a lot of really cool games coming out, and I want to play them. And it's kind of like I've already played 19 hours in No Kuni, so I feel like I've played a good amount of it, and I almost feel like my due is done with that game, but I really want to finish it at the same time too. So it's going to be one of those games that I'm going to keep you guys updated on, see if I play it from time to time, but really it could be one of those that I just kind of lay rest to a bit, and maybe I pick it up in the summer when the games are lean and whatnot. But for now, really enjoyable game. I recommend it to you guys if you want to play a fun RPG, a fun JRPG, but I do warn you that the game is very long, and at times it can get bogged down, but it is still a pretty cool experience. So we're going to wrap it up here with just a topic that we're going to talk about. And we don't have any topics submitted by you guys this week, but it'll be a quick one because we're already running a little bit long on the podcast here. So what we wanted to kind of touch on, and also send in your thoughts of this too, again, to checkpointachieved@gmail.com. What games are you most excited for? Not coming around in the fall, because we really don't know what's going on there. But what are you most excited for coming up in the near future, the next couple of months? There's some really big games coming out, and I want to hear what you guys think, but also what do you guys think here too, Gage and Dan? For me personally, I said Last of Us is probably the one that I'm most excited for, and that game's kind of being pushed off now into the June zone. Grand Theft Auto was another game that's been pushed off now. Splinter Cell Blacklist was another game that was pushed off. So those are all exciting games I'm going to play probably. I'm probably going to play all three of those. But those are giving me more room to play other ones. Like next week coming up, we got Crysis 3 coming out. And also we've got Metal Gear Rising Revengeance too,
that one looks good.
It looks interesting, definitely. So there's those ones, and then Tomb Raider, God of War Ascension are a couple other ones coming up, and obviously BioShock Infinite is another big game too. Probably some other ones I'm missing there as well. But what are you guys most excited for?
The main one I'm looking forward to recently is BioShock Infinite. That I've been looking forward to that one for a long time. Another game that's not in the too distant future, but has just been announced kind of recently, is Dark Souls 2.
Okay.
Which is kind of like a niche JRPG almost.
Yeah, no, it's pretty popular, though. I mean, I think most people know what Dark Souls is, so...
That was just announced, and that looks pretty good, but they don't have any solid information on that.
So it's probably more down the pipe than anything.
But I think it's going to be this generation. I'm not sure though. They haven't put out any solid information.
Witcher 3 was the other one that I wanted to mention too, because we forgot to mention that in the news part of it, but really excited to see what that's going to be like. It's supposed to be, I think, like 30 times bigger than Witcher 2. It's supposed to be bigger than like Skyrim in general. So
Wow.
It is going to be a huge world, and you might be able to get lost in it. So that'll be interesting when that comes out. But yeah, no, BioShock Infinite looks really cool.
Yeah, pretty much I'm just looking forward to BioShock Infinite. I'm not looking forward to too many games right now. I don't know. I haven't been gaming as much lately. But BioShock Infinite is definitely a game that I want to get back into gaming for.
I think it's safe to say, too, that we will definitely do a spoiler cast for BioShock Infinite. The one other game that I'm excited for above the pack, like there's these other games here are games I think that I might play, or maybe one of you guys might play, or one of the other guys that isn't on the podcast today that might, go around and play it. We probably will get some news about every single game, experiences with the game. But the other one that I think that we might get a spoiler cast out of is the new Tomb Raider, because I'm really interested to see what that one's about. And I'm actually pretty excited for that one. That'd probably be my number 2, obviously Last of Us again, but I'm kind of considering that in the horizon more than anything. Are you guys excited for that game, or?
I had no interest in it until about a week ago when I was just looking up some stuff, and I'm like, well, at least they finally got rid of basing it off Angelina Jolie, and they're kind of doing their own thing.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I'm kind of excited. Again, I love Uncharted, so it's like Uncharted pretty much. It's obviously Lara Croft is kind of the original Uncharted, more than anything. But I'm excited to see that one. God of War Ascension doesn't really tickle my fancy as much, just because obviously it's a PS3 exclusive, so you guys probably don't have as much interest in that. But I'm not a major God of War fan anyway. The other interesting one though that might be like a weird one to do is like if you're down for Metal Gear Rising or Vengeance, I might jump into that as well, because that game it looks like it's gonna be fun. And I don't have any more expectations over that. I played the demo, and I was giggling at the fact that I was slicing people up into little pieces. I love the tutorial that you can slice up watermelons and whatnot. So that looks pretty cool, too. The weird one for me is Crysis 3, because I've dabbled in Crysis games before. Never really played them fully. And I played the beta of the multiplayer.
Yeah.
It was pretty fun. I don't play multiplayer like shooters that much, but I was actually enjoying my time with that. So I'm not sure on that game, but it could be. Again, it's we talk about these games ahead of time, right? And it's very much, I find myself playing so many smaller games now than anything like on PC or whatever. And the big games, I miss a lot of them. But I was talking about Colonial Marines. I was thinking like that's the game I want to play. And then obviously when the reviews came out, that's like nope, not gonna do that.
Skip.
Yeah, so that happens pretty often, and it'll be interesting to see how these come around. But I think that No Kuni was a game I wanted to play. I got around to doing that. Dead Space I was kind of on the fence about doing because I hadn't really played that much Dead Space in the past. I skipped that just because in the end I just decided not to do that. But there's some really cool games coming up, so definitely stay tuned to more conversations about those games. And I think that's it for this episode, guys. Pretty good overall,
Yeah.
I'd say about an hour and 40 minutes. We got a lot of talking out of the way there. But yeah, and if you enjoyed this, stay tuned for more, because we're going to continue to do these each week. We'll also be doing spoiler casts, we kind of talked about a little bit too. Potentially a Far Cry 3 one. We wanted to do that beforehand, and a lot of us have already played that game, so it's a good game. Definitely recommend it, and we can get together and do that. So that's something that we might do, but also weekly podcasts is going to be a thing that we're going to do just in general. And if you have any questions, again, I've kind of spammed this all over the podcast, but if you've got any questions for the show, leave them at checkpointachieved@gmail.com. We've got a Twitter feed set up as well, and a Facebook group. All this stuff's just kind of in the works right now, but stay tuned for more stuff from us, and we're out.
Bye.
See ya.
Hey everyone, welcome to Checkpoint Achieved, a new podcast we're starting up here about video games and whatnot. I've got with me here today Gage Paul.
Hello.
And Dan Sign Singer. No! It was like it was going good. And then I'm like, what's his last name again?